Hi, y'all. It's Bridget Cutshaw with Real Things Living. Today, my guest is Jeff J. Hunter. He is an author, serial entrepreneur, and he's super passionate about tech and gaming. Can you say hi, Jeff?
Okay, gamers unite.
Yes, my son is a big gamer, so he's probably really interested in this conversation. I think it's really cool that you found me on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a super great platform now. It's been
Yeah.
around a while, but it's a really great way for business people, I think, to connect. And can you, I guess I had mentioned you're a serial entrepreneur and you have like at least three companies, but you don't stress yourself out over it. Can you like share how you get through each day or?
Well, let's go back to when I was stressed out about it.
Oh, perfect.
Um,
Yes.
so back in the day, circa 2012, actually from around your parts out there in Marietta, Georgia, I used to work at Philips Electronics and I was a project manager. So I was managing anywhere from, 50 to 60 projects at any given time. And I was pretty overworked and it was very stressful. And I just knew that there had to be a way. There was a lot of things in the role that I really didn't like to do. Most of it was documentation. I hate doing documentation. Like it's horrible for me. So I went online back when there used to be this well, it's still around, but Fiverr.com, back when it was still $5 though. I found this guy, and I think he was from like Pakistan or something like that. And he said that he knew how to use Microsoft projects and he could do project documentation. And I was like, wow. And he was $5 an hour. And I was like, I mean, I had very low expectations. So I was like, I'm gonna do it anyway. So like I might as well throw some over to him and see if he can do it. And he actually did it better than me and faster than me.
Wow.
And, I was just blown away and I was like, wow. And within 12 months of that little secret, I became one of the top 5 project managers nationwide. And I said, wow, this guy made me look really good. So then I kind of got obsessed. I was like, what other things in my life can I delegate out to other people? Um, and I guess, that's when I kind of had this like aha moment that, oh my gosh, I could actually not only do it for myself, but I was able to turn that into a business of helping do that for other people.
Hey,
So now I so now I have VA Staffer, which is a virtual assistant staffing agency, has over 150 VAs, mostly from the Philippines, because they actually work.
right.
I hate to say this, but most Americans, you know, they don't like that type of work. It's kind of like 1970s,
It's
when
a culture
it's a
thing.
culture thing. It's kind of like, if you think about immigrant labor here in America, like, you don't see a whole lot of Americans down there in the fields working, right? So in the Philippines, they have a very strong servant culture. They have very strong hearts. Most of them, and this is, by the way, this is absolutely statistical true. Most people in the Philippines, their parents really try to force them to be one of three things: a teacher, a nurse, or an engineer,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Because
Yeah.
these are all kind of like servant type things. So I started that, and that's the story. So now that's kind of what I do for a living, is I help people build companies and brands, and I build teams to do it.
It's so important. You're right, the delegate work, because I understand how some people like me don't want to outsource it, right? And I think it's because we think we have the best knowledge, but you're hurting your time, right? You're
Mhm.
hurting your energy. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, I would say that, I call it the 90-10 rule. And I feel like most people, they get burnt out if they don't do something that they actually want to do every day. And the thing is, most people are busy, with that 90% of their business that they really shouldn't be doing. And they really should be focused on that 10% that's really actually driving it forward. I have this cliche type thing. I say most people are busy kicking the rocks when they should be pushing the boulder.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but it's true. I bet you if you have a list of things, you write down 10 things that are really important for you to do in your business, I guarantee you there's going to be one of those things that's more important than all the other nine put together.
Yes. like your knowledge, like you have
Hmm.
that knowledge that you learned from being a project manager. Did you have to be, some places require like certification and that kind of too?
Yeah, so you know what's funny? And this is another wake-up call I think the world needs to have. Well, especially look at the college student debt thing. I'm not going to get political here,
Yes.
but
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to get political here. But what I will tell you is that they have basically made college useless. Like sad to say, but people go to college, they become, the degrees now are ridiculous, gender studies, whatever, and not
Right.
not saying that gender studies aren't important, but the fact that you're going to graduate and think you're going to be a great contribution to society, like there, like what we need some really educated, business smart people to come up with the innovation that's needed to change where we're at. We face some serious problems here, whether it be like what you believe. You know, I believe that some of the biggest crises that we have facing, not just America but the world today, is just like this evolving workforce of what I call the entrepreneurial side, where it's like, where's all the people that are just going to do regular jobs now?
Yes,
Because
exactly.
everybody's going to go to college for free,
Yeah.
and they're going to graduate and they're going to think that they're above a job. And I feel like we have a bunch of entitled people right now in America
Yes. It's our
that
culture.
are above a job.
My son, my younger son, he when he started college, he dropped out, but he got a certification in full stack development. He's like, Mom, I am learning nothing.
Hmm.
He said they are telling us the same stuff they told us in high school, right? And the reason I became an entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it, my own business, is because I was one of those people that got laid off from a corporate, uh, what do you call it, private, equity kind of acquisition. A
Hmm.
lot of us were laid off, and the people that were laid off were the ones that had big dollar signs next to their name. And
Yep.
I was, but thank, thankfully, my clients like, we trust you, because they knew my knowledge was important, and this is from experience. It's not what I knew. Didn't come from college, even though it helped me back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lot older than you, Jeff, but
Hmm.
it's right. It's just going to be a big a big issue, and at least we got to understand. I think what your value is, how you can bring value to companies, and I think we're going to see a lot more independent contractors, possibly. Because that's me, and
Yeah.
I'm
And me. That's me
right. We're
too.
independent
Yeah.
contractors, and I think that it's good and bad. The I like the freedom of it. I'm sure you do too, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's just trying to figure it out, and you can't, and change always happens. I think some people are resisting that change, and just like you said, college, who it, they're going to be hurting too. I think the universities and things like that, uh, they just don't. The professors, from my understanding, there's not that many tenured. Is that the right word? Tenured
Here,
professors?
here's my problem. My problem is that, and by the way, I don't want to turn this into a bashing session on education, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it is. I think education is important, even higher
yes,
education, but for certain things. Like
yeah,
if someone's going to become a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse or whatever, and it's like, here's the same thing that we've taught for 30 years from a book,
yes,
then that makes sense, you
yes.
know? But if we live in a world that's adapting and evolving, like even look at crypto. Like crypto, there's absolutely no course on crypto.
I
And
had
it's one
no
of the
clue about
biggest.
it. Right. I
Yeah,
don't
and
understand.
it's, well, yeah, and that's why, not to pitch my book, but that's why I wrote the Zero to Hero Crypto Guide, is because I just, outside of Googling stuff and trying to learn the hard way, which is what I did, there wasn't really like any good resource for like absolute beginners. But I wanted it to be strong enough for people that have already dabbled in crypto and know enough to broaden their horizons. So when I made the book Zero to Hero Crypto Guide, it was kind of like, okay, this is the book I wish I would have read last year or 2 years ago before I lost all my money.
Right.
You know what I
Right
mean? Like,
on. Right. What you invested in it. Right.
yeah. And I'm like, dude, But anyway, in higher education, I believe that most of the professors, they haven't actually been successful in the real world,
No.
you know?
Right.
And
right.
I think this is also amazing for us as entrepreneurs. And like you said, your son dropped out. He's now doing full stack development
Making
stuff.
good money.
Yeah, he's making a lot better money than, it's funny because I believe that we're now in a society, especially with minimum wages being raised so much. I don't know if you heard, but this week, Governor Newsom here in California just signed into law a committee. He approved it. He signed it into law a new like labor committee, and has already given authorization for them to raise the minimum wage up to $22 an hour.
22.
$22 an hour. Yeah,
Wow.
right. Now, obviously,
Ouch. Yeah. I
that's
understand it's good for the people receiving it, but it's going to hurt businesses. I mean,
it's
that, I'm
not
sorry,
it's not it's not good for the people who can't receive it, right? I
correct. I mean,
mean,
that's just my first reaction as a, yeah,
yeah.
that's just, I didn't know that.
Think
Yeah.
of all the business owners who now have to, and the sad part is that these laws, they're made with good intention.
Yes. Yeah.
They see it, politicians, because politicians, most of them, they don't know the real world. And you know, like they don't understand that what happens as a business owner is when we have to think about what's the value of someone is going to bring in when they're getting paid $22 an hour. Now, let's be real, when someone's getting paid $22 an hour, it's a lot more costly to the business owner because
Yes. Yeah.
especially here in California, we have state disability insurance, we have unemployment insurance, we have Social Security, which is, paying half of their Social Security. We have all these different things. So now you're looking at $35, $40 an hour to hire a $22 an hour person. So what happens is business owners are less likely to take the chance on someone who's fresh out of school, or maybe
Yeah.
already or still in high school, or maybe they're from an underserved community, right? Like maybe these are people, like as a business owner, when someone's $10 an hour or whatever, it's like, okay, I'll give you a shot, right? But I'll tell you right now, at $22 an hour, business owners are only going to hire people that either have experience, they've already got a proven track record,
Right.
uh, so the problem is the people at the bottom that are looking for a way to come up, they're not going to get a chance.
That's a great perspective. I think you're very right. They're going to look for people that will help them. They don't have to put more effort into training them, right? Less training, and there's a
Yeah.
cost involved with training. That's kind of sad, actually. When you're talking about the $22 an hour, when I was in high school, I think minimum wage was $3.50.
And that was that in Georgia?
Yes.
All right. So yes, I am younger than you, but just so you know, when I
Oh,
first started my first job, and this is funny because a lot of people always say, "Oh, Jeff, you're coming from a privilege." What? Let me tell you a little something. My mom was on food stamps when I was born.
right, right,
Okay. My dad worked at a 5-minute car wash. My dad, to this day, has never held a stable job. To this day. All right.
right.
Actually, my dad has the most stable job he's ever got. He makes whopping $800 a month as a pastor at the Free Will Baptist Church
Oh,
here in
wow.
California. All right. So, and that's the most stable job he's ever had. Hey, my dad, he's just that's how he is, And
That's he's
my
being
mom,
him, right?
my mom has always been the breadwinner. She now is a nurse. She's ironically, knowing your story, she's an oncology radiation therapy nurse. Um, and she helps a lot of people with their recoveries from cancer and stuff like that. But I remember growing up, it was me and my little sister and my dad and my mom sharing a little 1-bedroom place, and in my grandfather Jesse's house, we call him Pop Pop, and it was just like a little 1-bedroom place, and it wasn't easy. And my very first job, circling back, my very first job was working at a gym.
Ah,
It was for $6.75 an hour. And this was in the late 90s when I was still in high school. And in the late 90s, my job was to clean up all the sweaty treadmills after
oh,
people got off them. And there were times where it was like, it's
yeah,
like it was
I
so
bet it blows
bad.
a lot of sweat everywhere.
And
But
I think that's a very important process though. As humans,
we need to
no
appreciate,
matter,
yes,
yeah, I feel like the problem right now is like nobody's doing dirty jobs, you
you're
know?
right. I had to do some really, my first job was actually, well, I had to help raise my sister because I'm a military brat. right. So we moved around a lot. So I didn't really have a lot with other than my mom, right? Being she's not from the US either. But
Oh, really? Where's she from?
very she's from she's half Vietnamese and half French, but her
Wow.
father was a French, she was raised in France. But
Wow.
so she married my dad, who's a in the army. It's very common
A
for those.
military brat.
I'm the military brat, right? And I didn't see him ever,
Mm,
because I was born right before Vietnam.
mm.
And I was born in the mid '60s. So you do have to do some hard work, and I think we're yeah, well, you got to understand and appreciate that. And working at that pizza place, like I was a cashier, and then later, uh, what else did I do? Oh, yeah, I worked at Wendy's and I hated it. And
Oh, my father-in-law, my wife's dad, he's from Mexico.
uh-huh.
And you want to talk about people that know how to work hard, you know?
Yes,
Um, his first job when he got here was working at Wendy's, and they were absolutely poor, right? Absolutely poor. And he told me a funny story about how, they were just so poor, and like all the food that they were gonna throw away every day at the end of the shift,
at
you know,
Wendy's,
they
yeah.
oh yeah, they had hamburger tacos every day, you know? But I think that that's the stuff that kind of forms us, right?
I am
And
like, okay, I know I don't. I appreciate what those people do. And then you can have more respect for them.
I think
And
it
then,
I think it goes back to what sorry to cut you off, but it's funny how this is now circling back to college, because
yes,
imagine working as a cashier at a pizza place, working as the friggin' sweat wiper at a gym, and then look where we are today.
yeah.
You have a lake house, I have two properties, I got a rental, right? And like now my businesses are making millions of dollars a year. Um, and I have 150 team members.
That's
And
awesome.
I think that what's really interesting here is that now looking at the spectrum of what we first started talking about, which is totally not what we were supposed to talk about today.
Right. That's
Um,
okay.
which is higher education, who now we have a class of people who are coming to college and leaving college that have safe spaces where people can go and hug stuffed animals when their candidate loses elections.
And it really is this going to be how they're focusing on to use their energy, right? And that's
Right.
really kind of back to bite them in the butt again. You just gotta, I shouldn't say suck it. I think part of it is Jeff being raised around the military made
Mhm.
me a little want to have to work harder.
Mhm.
That makes sense. And trust me,
Yeah.
I had chores to do, and that's the way it was. And I that was just my upbringing. I didn't appreciate it at the time, but it
Same
helped.
here.
Yeah, I
So
didn't.
my dad, when I was 18 or no 17 years old. Oh my gosh, I'm about to reveal something very crazy to you.
Okay, it's all right.
So, my first quote unquote good paying job, at least that's what I thought it was back in the day. My dad had come up with this crazy idea. He goes to a company picnic and sees there's these face painters and these balloon tires and stuff, and he says, "Oh my gosh," he's like, "I can do that." And he finds out that they're getting paid like $75 an hour, and
Oh wow.
he's like, "Oh my gosh, like I could totally do this, right?" And he creates this entertainment company that does like company picnics, clowns, whatever. And for about 3 years of my life, I learned how to tie animal balloons. And I would actually go to a restaurant, eh, 2 restaurants a week. One of them was Golden Corral, and the other one was Lions, and they had kids night. One was on Tuesday night, one was on Wednesday night, right? So I went through all college, by the way. Like every Tuesday and Wednesday night, I would go and I would tie animal balloons for 75 bucks an hour plus tips, right? Now, that was a decent amount of money back then, right? Like that's like 200, 300 bucks a week.
Right,
You
it
know?
is.
For tying animal balloons for like 4 hours a day, And I was like, holy smokes, that taught me so much about how to deal with people.
Yes.
Um, because a lot of people aren't happy and they don't want to see you. And you want to talk about energy, like, especially when you're dressed up in our costumes. Oh my God, my dad, I want to slap him in the face. Um, our costumes we had were white shorts, like brilliant white shorts, like white, 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 right? And they were knee-high shorts. All right.
Oh, wow.
Imagine a kid in the 90s and early 2000s wearing knee-high shorts, right? This is the basketball generation, right? So this is the Michael Jordan generation. So and a pink shirt with white suspenders.
Oh my God. That's
It
funny.
was it was horrible, and that's what I mean.
I'm sorry. I
There's
think
no,
it's funny.
it is funny. It's a very humbling experience being a young man who's
We're
trying to
pink.
be cool, wearing a pink and white outfit, tying animal balloons, and it really humbles you.
Well, when you were saying that, the place I worked at was called Showbiz Pizza. And
Mm,
I had to occasionally get dressed up as the whatever, I can't remember the character's name
the
because we had
mascot.
the mascot when the kids were having parties there and they had me go out there to play around with the kids. But I
Oh.
wasn't getting paid extra for that. It was because it was inside the restaurant. But
Hmm.
yeah, I like, yep,
You just
yep.
had a flashback.
Like, oh, I forgot that I did that. It was hot having that. It was like a
Was.
having that bunny
I
hat. This was a bunny hat. I don't know what it was.
Funny story, the most money I ever made ever working for my dad was dressing up as Barney. Remember
Oh,
Barney?
really? Yes.
I love you.
That's
You
funny.
love
You're
me.
lucky. Think how the creative impact your father had with you.
I just can't believe it. Looking back, one of the things that he had me do, and this was back when it was like the thing, was I also used to dress up as a Power Ranger.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I was always the green Power Ranger, and it was really fun. And like we had our like because my dad didn't want to get sued, we were not the Power Rangers, we were the Mighty Morphing Combat Rangers or something like that.
Oh, that's funny.
All right. Anyway,
No, that's
focus.
good. These great memories just or pop up when we're having conversations, and it is. I could tell you're very passionate and you have a lot of good energy, and I think you are focusing, putting yours in the right time, right? What you need to do every day, and you are helping people realize, like you mentioned, the delegate work. You're helping them grow their businesses. Did you ever
Yeah.
think that was going to happen?
No,
Right?
no. As a matter of fact, when I grew up, I always thought I was like, and I always thought it was a far-fetched dream. I didn't know that it was actually what I was going to be able to do today. I always thought that I would be some sort of a video game developer slash hacker. And, when crypto came out and all the people, so I actually, in a previous life, I was very adamant about esports. And I started a company back in early 2000s called Esports Media. And we ended up getting bought out. And it
Oh,
was my first time selling a company. It was back in 2009, and it was like it wasn't even much, 75,000. But back then I thought it was a lot of money. And the funniest part is that like all the people that were in that project with me ended up starting a company that I actually helped come up with a name called Twitch.tv because it used to be Justin.tv. And I was on the like panel that got to help decide what the name was going to be. And that company got bought by Amazon.com for $1 billion.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing. Yeah,
it
you own
also
everything now.
Amazon owns everything. I
Yes.
mean, uh, before the podcast, you and I were talking about how they're building Amazon distribution
Yes.
facilities everywhere. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing with the supply chain,
I
and
think they're trying to compete with Walmart and their stores, right? You know what
they
I'm saying?
have
'Cause Walmart has
they
stores everywhere too.
absolutely. And think about this: Walmart versus Amazon. I mean, the only difference is one you go to the store and one gets delivered to you. And I can tell you, knowing how many Amazon packages I get a week, like I don't go to Walmart that often. But I think that that is actually a really good point because on the topic we're supposed to be talking about focus is, you know, Amazon's really focusing on that one thing. That
Yes.
one thing is that they want to provide the convenience of you being able to shop and it show up at your door. And they, dude, the shipping on this stuff, sometimes you get same day shipping. And I'm like,
Oh, I
whoa,
know. Because of those warehouses there. I also use Amazon a lot too, and but I'm sometimes I get emails from them. Do you want to have it pick it up at a locker? There's like other places, locations that
yeah,
you can pick it up. I'm like, no, thank you. If I want to go pick it up, I'd go to Walmart. But I mean, does that sound terrible and lazy of me? But
no,
I think they bought Whole Foods maybe five
yeah.
years ago, and now
Hmm.
Whole Foods has some of the lockers in there. I was upset at first about that because I was always a big Whole Foods fan. I first discovered it when I used to have to travel to Austin, Texas a lot because that's where they're headquartered. And it has changed a little bit, but it's just amazing. They have super focus, and that's an example of where we're headed,
Well,
right?
here's the thing too. And this is why, because people are like, well, Jeff, how can you talk about focus when you have three, four different businesses going on?
Right.
It's because I have amazing people that run these businesses.
Yes.
So, like, for example, VA Staffer is ran by my team. I have Julio who does all of our inbound sales. He has his own assistant named Nicole who works with him. I have Isabel. She's in charge of all the management, recruitment, the training, the hiring process, you know, the customer onboarding. I have my own assistant, Jacqueline, who basically goes through all my emails every day. And even before this podcast, she sent me a message and she says, "Hey, just so you know, you have a call today with Bridget, and you're going to be talking about focus and talking about, you know, like she lets me know what I'm doing every day." And then for brandedmedia.io, which is the creative agency that I have, it's ran by my business partner, who's a majority partner. Her name's Trisha LeConte, and Trisha is literally running the show. Like she is the creative director. She does all the hard work, you know, behind the scenes stuff. And my job is to tell people about it and bring in the business. So it's like, i- and even on the book, even on my book, the Zero to
Right.
Hero Crypto Guide, I have a good friend of mine who's actually worked for some of the best top marketers in the world, and he's uh I shouldn't even like he wanted to be anonymous for this book, but the you know, he actually wrote about 70% of my book, you
Which
know?
is normal. It's normal to working and he's got your idea and he put it together and
Yeah, and it's something that we've been working on since like October of last year, you know, and it took a lot of time to put it together, but you know, like I've always, you know, it's funny because people are my entire life I've always been good at building virtual teams before they were cool, you
right,
know?
right.
Like, you know, in 2019, I used to still have to like explain to people why they should hire a virtual team, you know? And then when COVID happened, it was like I never had
Right.
that conversation again, you know?
Right.
Yeah, but it's very interesting because now, you know, now I have a column on entrepreneur.com where I talk about virtual teams. I
Oh,
have
that's cool.
I write there, and
To me,
even some of that's delegated.
well,
So,
to me, you're like looking at the future and how to adapt. That's really to help because things are going to come up. You don't know, so you're prepared. And some people think they could do it all by themselves when they can't, and you've realized that, and that's why I believe you're successful
well, I
because
can tell you this: I've never had someone tell me that they miss doing all the things they don't like to do.
right, perfect, yeah. That's exactly right. That is so cool. I did not know you had a branded media. You said brandedmedia.io. I think
Uh huh.
that's really cool because that is so important too. People don't realize how their image to the world affects their business as well. Did I say that right? Yeah.
No, you got it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, in branded media, it's very niche.
Uh-huh.
Branded media, we focus on building personal brands for founders and CEOs.
Hmm.
They usually already have successful companies, usually $1 million plus.
Gotcha.
And most of these people that have $1 million plus businesses, they've kind of figured it out and they've got everything dialed in. They usually have a team
Right.
and they want to start expanding and doing other things, right? And then they've started realizing that, oh, to do these other things, I actually have to have a personal brand. Because most company owners, they're not the most qualified CEO of that company. They're
Right.
just the crazy person that started the company, like us, right?
I like that. And that is just so cool. It is just amazing how every day we're having to adapt. I think it's always happening. We just seem to be noticing it more. And do you think tech has something to do with that maybe? That we
Yeah, I mean, and every day something's changing. Like for example, yesterday I have a person on our team. Her name's Roselle, and she's kind of like a higher end. She actually has her Six Sigma certification. She's she knows how to do processes really well, process flows, things like that. And I told her about this new app that came out, and it's a Chrome extension. And basically all you have to do is hit play on this Chrome extension and do what you normally do, and it actually records each of the steps and it automatically creates an SOP for you. And
Ah,
now that's one of the things that we always, struggle with. Well, we
yes.
don't, but our
Right.
clients do. Is they're like,
Right.
oh, it's the biggest lie that they always tell themselves is, oh, it's easier for me to do it myself than to teach someone else how to do it. It's I'm too busy to not be busy excuse, right?
Yes.
And so I'm always looking for new ways and new tools that can make that simple. So, for example, if you need to, do a very specific workflow and you hit the record button and it just goes. But for me, what I do is I actually go on Zoom with my people and I teach them how to do something and I explain it to them and I record the call and then they go back and they record it. So I told her, I said, it might actually be easier to use this app, and then you could do the video training if you want, and you could show people how to do it and it will automatically document the process. So I think technology has made it
Oh, that's
much more convenient.
it is. It makes it convenient, and we just need to not be afraid of it. We need to embrace it. That'll help us and not make it a negative thing. I think a lot of people make it negative.
Yeah, well, I think that to, and it's a shame. We should have hit the record button before we started the podcast,
Yes,
because
that's okay.
it's how it always works, right? Because you were
Yes,
even talking about your own health challenges that you faced, and
yes.
for me, I also had my own health challenges just in the past couple months. I got very sick, and it was stress related, and it took me a minute to figure this out. Actually, November 1st, I have a little, uh, what's it called, endoscopy, where they go down your,
Oh, right. Yeah.
that what they do? I don't know. Where they're gonna go check out the insides of my stomach and stuff, because I don't know if I got an ulcer or stress or what's going on. But I was dealing with some serious stress with one of my biggest clients, and it got to the point to where it was like something that was on my mind all the time, and I just was running through different scenarios, like how to fix this problem, how to fix this problem. And it's a rather large client that's, pays me $1 million a year.
Oh, wow.
So so it is the biggest client I have. So obviously, dealing with this issue was at the utmost, because, that's my family. That's 50 of my team members working for this one client. There's a lot going on there. And I wasn't able to focus on what I want to do. I was focused on this problem, and this problem was not going away. And it was causing serious due harm to my body and my mind and my mental state and my emotions and my family and everything, honestly. And it was just such a huge relief to be done with it. I consulted with my people, my business partners, my mentors, my team members on how to resolve it. I was not happy with any of the resolutions, by the way, but I knew that just committing to a resolution, even if it wasn't something that I really wanted to do, it'd make me feel better, and it did.
That's a great reference because I think a lot of business people, or should I say business people, they do get a lot of stress, and it does. I've had cancer and all that, but they don't know what they think mine is the brain tumor. And I did have before they discovered my brain tumor, I was having like weird body aches in my stomach, blah blah blah, and I saw regular doctors and doctors who were is that the right word? Holistic approach too. When they
Hmm.
discovered
Hmm.
I was eating dairy, which was bad for me.
Mm.
And as you age, it can affect you
You know,
more.
it's interesting. I also, because we didn't know what the hell was going on with me, I did a lab where they did all that, like, was that the testing on allergies and stuff?
Yeah, right.
And it comes to find out, here I am, a 40-year-old man, and come to find out that I'm allergic to most everything that I love to eat.
Oh, that's
Uh,
funny. Sorry.
I'm allergic to shellfish and scallops specifically,
Oh, wow.
which I love scallops. I could eat scallops all day long. As a matter of fact, the last 2 times I got really sick was ironically going to a sushi place and having raw scallops.
Ah,
Um, and I found out that I'm allergic to peanuts and almonds and walnuts and all sorts of stuff and hazelnut.
I think
I
it has to do with, right, you could have developed it just because you had it so much. Does that make sense? And your body was resistant.
maybe,
And
maybe.
that's what happened
All
to me with dairy. And I married a guy from Wisconsin. So you can
oh
imagine how
boy,
much dairy that
a lot of cheese.
a lot of cheese. But I didn't like it when I was younger. I didn't crave it, you know. And
Mhm.
that's another thing. I've gone to France and visited my family in France. I have their cheese and I'm okay. I couldn't help myself, right?
Mm.
But it's this, it has to do with
Isn't
the,
France's cheese is more salty though, isn't
probably it could,
it?
but it's the cows that we have here. You know,
Mm,
it's just so many different things. If you,
mm,
over the years, all this chemical, I can go down the path there. It's just so much
yeah,
chemicals that it ends up in the animals and in us. And I
yeah.
tried to it's casein protein for me, which is like the chunk in cottage cheese. I eat a lot of cottage cheese, Jeff.
I used
Right?
to, yeah.
And
Put some
so
peaches in there. Oh man.
uh um pineapple.
Pineapple. Oh, that's good too. Yeah.
I don't eat that anymore. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm glad I just kept asking questions. Now you got to try to find the, and that's what it is. Got to be persistent, and that's kind of why I got into health advocacy too, because all the doctors were trying to do too. Here's pain pill for you.
So what did they do for your tumor?
I saw 6 specialists. It's a rare primary brain tumor, and they ended up where it's located. Surgery would have, I would have had high risk of paralysis,
Mm,
and especially here. So the doctor, there's a new technology at the time. It was called CyberKnife, and it's been
mm.
around for over 10 years. And the insurance, they weren't going to pay for it at first, but they did. And it's super
Wow.
targeted radiation to kill it.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it grew slowly. And that type of tumor is from exposure to radiation, which I probably was exposed to as a kid being around military bases.
Mm,
Think about, right? And my mother's
mm,
fine, but my brother had something weird pop up around the same time they discovered my brain tumor.
mm,
And in between was the breast cancer, that, but they believe that's from the other tumor growing and putting pressure on your pituitary, which is in your brain. And that controls
wow.
your hormones. And I'm a poker. I always ask questions. And that's one of my, I mean, that kind of personality helped me. And they called me a zebra among horses because I do
Mhm.
everything right, Jeff. And I eat good, you know what I'm saying? I mean, not all the time, but that's how
Did you
they
do fasting as well?
I have. I have. Cutting out dairy it was really hard, very hard. It was like crack. I'm kidding. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
I love cheese. That's
Right.
my problem.
And it was really hard. And so that made me feel so much better. Those body aches went away. But then that's when they discovered, you know, I just had to do some other issues. It's not 100% perfect. I'm sorry, guys. My dogs are barking.
No, we love dogs. We love dogs. Bring them
Somebody
on.
must be here. Um, that's a sign that Bridget, you should close it down. But I'm sorry they're barking, guys.
No, we're
But
good. It doesn't sound that bad.
right, and I'm wearing a shirt. This, if those that are just listening, say sorry, I can't have plans with my dogs. And dogs are just one of the things that have always helped me get through because they remind you to be in the moment.
Mm.
That's what I think dogs do, rather than
Dogs don't care about the future. They don't care about the past. They only care about what you're doing today, right now.
yes, and they're gonna, you know, sniff something. Occasionally they'll go chase a squirrel, and I might do that too. You know?
Yeah, that's a great thing as an entrepreneur. We
Yes,
always go, "Oh, squirrel,"
yeah,
you know?
exactly. And that's probably why I've always had this love for dogs, and my sons were raised around it, and I think that's why they like animals. And thankfully, I don't have, you know, allergies to being around animals.
You
Some
know, the
people,
sad part is I do.
oh, you do?
But
Oh,
but I still do it. I don't care.
right.
I get really itchy and I'll have little like
Ah,
things that break out on my arms and stuff, but you know what? I don't
who
care.
cares? You're enjoying it. And my thing, if I have sinus issues, it's more we have pollen issues in Georgia. You can imagine the pollen problems
Mm,
we have,
mhm.
especially in September, the fall. So that's when I have to go. It's one of the reasons why I like to still run because it makes my sinuses drain. If you think about that. And I do have allergy pills. And this is
Me
to help
too.
me deal with
Yeah.
the clogging. But that's something I inherited from my mom, though. She has it, and so does
Same.
it's not just me. It's my mom
Genetical
and my
problems.
right, my brother and my sister, we all have allergies, but the
Uh,
cheese thing was unexpected. But I think because I ate so much after I moved to Wisconsin for a while.
the allergies get so bad that sometimes I have to switch meds because my body builds up a resistance to
Oh,
it.
really? Yep.
Like Allegra D, and then I'll do Allegra D until it stops working, then I'll switch to Zyrtec, and then I'll switch to
Right.
something else.
Right. I use this is a promotion for Zyrtec. I use I use Zyrtec and ended up having I don't use Sudafed because it I don't know, it just really dried out
Yeah, it
my
does.
everything.
Always makes your heart pump too.
Yeah, and that's what it was. And I would go run. I would want to go run like on
Sudafed plus running, yeah,
and
not
it's
good.
not good for you. So I just don't take it and just allergy medicine and then the I think occasionally I'm just telling you too much Mucinex. Believe it or not,
Mucinex, yeah, Mucinex D, the
it
decongestive
helps
one.
your
Yeah.
it's I need it like right now in September.
Well, for our listeners,
Yes.
we have now given you the whole skinny on why college is not as good as it used to be, why you need to have a hard job in life
Yes.
to succeed and appreciate your actual life, that dogs are amazing and they don't care about your past. We've also talked about you coming through your health challenges and my own, and
Right.
how it's important to focus on yourself, and also how it's important to focus on our business of things that we actually like to do. Forget the 90% of things you don't want to do.
Yes.
Find someone to do them so you can focus on the 10% that you want to do.
Yes.
And Mucinex.
And Mucinex. And don't be afraid of that. So that was a great summary, Jeff, and a great conversation. Where can people learn more about you?
Oh man. Well, I love LinkedIn. So
Okay.
if you just go on LinkedIn and type Jeff J Hunter, or actually, you know what? I'm Google verified now. So if you go on to Google and type in Jeff, the letter J Hunter, Jeff J Hunter,
Oh,
you'll find
wow.
all my stuff on there. I just got Twitter verified too.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Business Insider did a story about how I left my corporate job as a project manager and started everything over at VA Staffer, and that article, it's done
Oh,
wonders
that's
for me.
great. That's a
Um,
great magazine, I should say, or
yeah.
right word.
I mean, technically it's a magazine, right? It's just online now, right? I
Right. That's
mean,
what I'm thinking in my brain. Back in the day, I'm used to
as as a matter of fact, I actually tasked out our branding team, the creative team at Brandon Media. I tasked them out to design me a plaque that I can put on my wall to take the digital version of it and actually make it a printable version that I can put on my wall because it's such a cool story. It has pictures of me and my family and my team members in the Philippines and how I left my entire life, my job, everything back in February of 2016, moved to the Philippines for a month to build out my business.
oh wow, yeah, they
And
connect with everybody there, right? Yeah.
it was such a crazy adventure. And I highly recommend, by the way, if you currently have a job and you're becoming an entrepreneur and you want to go all in, that you save a lot more money than I did when I did it. Like, don't make sure you have a little bit of a parachute when you leave because man, I had to move in with my parents when I left my job because I had no income. I left complete
Right.
cold turkey to pursue my passion and my business, and I had no money in the bank account, no savings. So, if you're planning on pursuing your own career, working for yourself as an entrepreneur, and you currently have a job, start saving your friggin' money so that you have a little bit of a safety net.
Right. And it'll help you develop the plan and tweak it where you need to, right? Along the way.
You know what, Bridget?
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna take that back because you know what? Thinking about it, the fact that I had no safety net made me work 10 times harder.
Maybe. Okay.
Because now that I think about it, maybe that's why I was successful because I had no plan B. I had no nest egg. I had nothing. I had to make it work because I had nothing.
That's something for me why it probably worked. I got laid off and then 2 months later is when I got cancer again. That was
Mm.
fun. So I said, I'm not gonna look for a job. I mean, then I'm just gonna focus on my health. That's what I wanted to be there for my sons. And
Well, you look amazing.
yeah, thank you. And
Yeah, you look
it's
amazing.
and it's because I have really good doctors, and they know I call myself a Pete. I'm a pain in the ass, but excuse me, ask a lot of questions. But they're like, yeah, they understand things can change, and medical help and all that information and all the technology, even for that, is changing, and so they're
Mm.
open to that.
Well, it
So
has been an absolute honor to join you today,
yeah,
Bridget. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And for those listening, I'm going to have a link to jeffjhunter.com and as well his LinkedIn connection. And this has been awesome. I really appreciate it.
Definitely not what we both expected it to do, and
No,
I'm not sad about it.
oh, this is the best kind, right? Best kind of conversation.
Yep. Well, thank you so much.
All right.
I'm gonna go feed my dogs now. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good. All right. Bye,
All right.
guys.
Thank you.